Coming up on the Seahawkers podcast, what we know, what we think we know, and what we absolutely do not know about new Seahawks offensive coordinator Brian Fleury. Let's get it.
Hello and welcome to the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandon Schultz and I am joined by a couple of my good buddies as we are rolling into the glorious offseason where we are Super Bowl champions. I've got Adam Emmert and I've got Clinton Bonner. Clinton, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I miss our season. I'm not ashamed to admit it. Some Seattle Seahawks pundits and folks who do shows get really revved up about the offseason. I like the offseason, guys, but I love the season, especially when we win the Super Bowl and the season, Adam. So I want to give the Lombardi a big hug, but I guess we could do that all year long anyway.
Why are you guys talking about next season? Like we still just won the Super Bowl. Like that's still where I am in a lot of ways. Like it's amazing to sit here and just bask in the glow of a championship. And look, I know that we're finally here. We're moving on. KK's gone. We're looking at our new offensive coordinator. We got things we know, things we maybe don't that we're going to talk about here. Clinton came up with a great format for this show. I think it probably should have just been titled Hard Telling Not Knowing. But at the end of the day, we're here because speculation season's here, the off season's here, free agency's coming up, drafts around the corner, coaching hires, coaching departures. It's all coming to a head as we start that mission to our second straight of 5 straight Lombardis.
Well, that's the main thing that I think we wanted to focus on today, at least, because the main news is coaching departures, coaching hires. And I don't want to lose sight, though, of our actual season as we go into the offseason, because I think that with winning the Super Bowl, there's a lot of stuff that you can look back on and also kind of look toward building off of. And I think throughout the offseason, and maybe you wait for some of the slow times when there's not a lot of news because, gosh, there's going to be draft coming up, there's going to be combine, there's going to be free agency. So we'll have all that stuff to get into. But in the downtimes, I think we can do some looking back to the season that was and looking ahead to the season ahead of us. But like I said, right now, we've got some offensive coordinator news, Clinton, that I know I'm looking forward to get into. And Adam teased it a little bit here, the title of this, what we know, things we actually think that we know, and things that we don't know. And it all surrounds our new offensive coordinator, who is Brian Fleury and hired from the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, the stupid Niners. So we're going to go through 9 particular topics. So it'll be a really fun show. We'll debate them. And frankly, I'm consuming a lot of Seahawks content right now. And there's, to me, so much speculation about this guy, which is cool. And he's our new OC, and I'm excited for him. And I kind of like the cut of his jib and all that jazz. But there's so much we don't know. And I think we need to be honest about that and put some of the stuff on the table that I hear others kind of making proclamations. I'm like, well, we don't know that. That's certainly not factual yet. So let's decipher those things. But guys, one thing I do know that I know we know is that we are growing. We love that we crossed 6,400 out on YouTube, and it doesn't happen without the little flockers out there. So the likes, the subscribes, they keep rolling in. So let's keep a good thing going. And one other thing I'm absolutely positive about, Adam, is that yes, while we look forward a bit, I'm still going to just bathe in this image for a long, long time because we are Super Bowl champions, bud.
We surely are. And look, if you want to guarantee that Brian Fleury is a home run as an offensive coordinator, then just hit subscribe and that'll do it. And then we can be right back here next year with another beautiful image of a Lombardi surrounded by Seahawks confetti. I can't wait for it. It's a lock, especially if you hit subscribe. No pressure. I mean, it's just you know, if you do, it's just a guarantee.
Depends
if you
on
don't,
you.
Yeah, I mean, it just, we'll see what happens, I guess.
Yes, click a button or we don't get the Lombardi. I mean, very, very, very simple.
Yeah.
And there are some really good news and notes we'll get into before we get into the Brian Fleury 9 categories. Boys, are you ready for something, I would say, stupid and fun? Brandon, how do you like that combination? Adam's in. Brandon, you in?
I'm definitely in. Those are
All
two things that I enjoy very much.
It's
All
what
right.
I embody.
Yeah, in many ways we all do, right? Stupid and fun. So this was from the Brock Purdy enthusiast. I like saying that word like that. So the Brock Purdy enthusiast, who goes by ATL_enthusiast out on Twitter. I don't know if he's actually just clickbaiting and wanting rage base, but he got me. But he put this out there. He put out a tweet that just side by side put Purdy's performance in the Super Bowl versus Sam Darnold's, and he put like little crowns, as you could see on YouTube if you're watching it. And if you're listening on the audio, it's things like passing yards, completion percentage, the average attempt or average completion, QBR and QB rating, and they're all crown for Brock Purdy and no crowns for Sam Darnold. Brandon, what important part did maybe ATL enthusiast maybe miss along the lines here?
I feel like there should be a win column that we're missing out on.
All I can say is Purdy can have all those crowns, all the crowns. Enjoy the crowns. Crowns are fun. You know what I like? I like rings. And so when I look at rings, Darnold has 1, Purdy has 0, and is a Super Bowl loser. Now, also, are these overtime crowns? Because maybe he piled up some of these numbers to get so much ahead of Sam, which they're really not. Like these are pretty comparable numbers as a whole. Like he also had an overtime that he put up numbers in. So Sam didn't, because he just made sure the offense stayed steady and ran the team and dominated the opponent, rather than Purdy having to go back and forth and then like being a loser and losing. So I think it's interesting, but I would implore you to one thing here, Clinton, as I see your response, which is a meme of Michael Jordan from 1982 saying "Stop it." And I just want to remind you, where did this happen again?
Oh, it happened on Twitter. Yeah.
Oh, it happened on Twitter. All right. Then it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Well, there was some other stuff, Brandon, that happened on Twitter today that might matter.
Yeah,
it might matter.
But it happened off of Twitter and was taken onto Twitter.
Could be.
I think that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, we are. So Adam, don't know if you've seen this yet, but Brandon, why don't you take it away? We got Tariq Woolen posting another famous GIF. I posted one with Michael Jordan. Stop it, get some help. But Tariq went back in the Wayback Machine also.
Was Tariq Woolen even born when the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air
Negative
ended?
Ghost Rider.
No, but he's got he knows pop culture. Tariq Woolen knows his pop culture. But why don't you describe what folks are seeing if they are listening? What we're seeing.
It's Tariq Woolen posting the Will Smith image of him looking around the empty room as he has moved out of the house at Bel-Air, and it suggests to us, I think, is the takeaway that everybody reading into this is that it might be Reek's time to move out of the house.
Yeah, hurry up, go. If you're gonna communicate in this format, there's some mystery around. Use your catfish words, dude. Be a grown up. Use your words. I can't stand this crap when athletes do this. They post some image so that everybody has buzz about it, and they're gonna sit and talk about, oh, what does this really mean, or doesn't? Maybe it means he's rug shopping. Like if Fresh Prince is standing on a rug. I don't know. You know why I don't know? Because Reek didn't use his words. Use your words. This stuff drives me crazy.
In his defense, number one, maybe he couldn't, right? And I understand. Then you're probably saying, well,
was
then
his mouth broken or his fingers?
Maybe he just can't put it out there. Maybe he's being advised not to. That's a possibility, right? That is a possibility. Number two, he's a pretty jovial dude. Like, this is kind of how he communicates. Like, he's into pop culture. He's always been this way, and this is a way that a younger generation does communicate. I know that you hate it, Adam.
I mean, younger generation, Gino is like this too, and it drove me nuts.
Well, Gino's still younger than us, right? And we are of a certain age at this point. But a younger generation grew up communicating through GIFs. That's how they do it. So I guess more importantly, whether you want him gone or not, do you think it's indicative, Adam, of that he was told something? That's the thing behind it all. Is like, did he have a meeting where basically they're saying, look, go explore the market. We're not going to give you $30 million a year, essentially.
Here, let me look here real quick. I'm looking at it, and you know what I see on here? No effing words, so I can't tell you if this is indicative of whether or not he had some conversation or this, that, the other thing. I refuse to speculate on some stupid image from 30 years ago. Like, there's no way to know. This falls directly into the hard telling, not knowing, and grow the hell up and be a man. Like, that's what this is. I just, sure. I mean, we can.
The other thing,
Yeah.
I mean, to go along with Adam, like, you don't have to post anything.
There you go.
You know,
can't talk about it.
Did K9 post anything today out on X that we needed to read into?
Not that I saw.
Me neither.
Not
because
that I saw.
I don't think we'll see it because that doesn't seem like K9's MO.
No, I K9. It's so funny that rotating this over to K9. He's also on screen here, and there's some news about K9 too. I love how much of his personality and his like dorkiness and shyness came out with the Super Bowl, where like I always knew he was pretty soft spoken, and I kind of knew that he was, a bit of a recluse, but I learned some stuff about his personality along the way, and the whole national scene did as well. It's like, oh, that dude just wants to be by himself. He wants to work out and play football. And that's all he cares about. But he was thrust into the limelight today because why? Well, the franchise tag and the opportunities to do so are coming right up. And this was Bucky Brooks. Or it was Sleeper NFL tagging Bucky Brooks saying, at Bucky Brooks believes the Seahawks will move on from Kenneth Walker. Then it goes on with some pros about the MVP. I saw nothing else about this. I didn't see a note directly from Bucky Brooks. I just didn't go look for it. But this to me was pretty speculative as well. And also, I hope this one's not true, guys.
The main thing, the reason why this became even news at all is because Tuesday was the first day that any teams can use their franchise tag. And so there's going to be that speculation of, oh, well, which team should use franchise tags? And obviously with Kenneth Walker being the Super Bowl MVP, I think he becomes, and with him being in a free agency year, it does become, he's kind of the poster child for the Seahawks to be like, well, this is a guy that you would use it on. It's the Super Bowl MVP. He needs to be re-signed. Why wouldn't you, if you have to use a franchise tag, maybe he would be a candidate. The only thing is that it's generally not something that the Seahawks ever used. They used it on, was it Hauschka, or they've used it on a kicker once in John Schneider's tenure, and they used it on Frank Clark before they traded him, and that was about it. But Bucky Brooks, he thinks that maybe, I guess this falls into speculation of what Bucky Brooks feels is going to happen with K9.
Well, in that vein, I actually take this one 10,000% more serious than I do a picture of old Will Smith. And the reason is this: Bucky Brooks has deep connections with John Schneider. Like, they had worked together at some point or something along those lines. And Daniel Jeremiah has even talked about it, his partner on Move the Sticks, of just how connected Bucky is with the front office of Seattle. And so this moves past the realm of speculation for me to closer to a fact than, a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about today, because he is a legit connected, informed person who really does do a great job covering the league. So this also kind of lines up with what would be my guess as to what happens with K9. Do I think the Seahawks bring him back? My gut tells me probably not. Does that make me happy? Not particularly. I love Kenneth Walker. And to your point, Clinton, like just seeing K9 at the event before the parade in the stadium and them talking about the MVP, and he's just kind of clean cut, doesn't say a word, doesn't even want to make eye contact with the crowd, and just like shaking his head, no, do not make this about me. Yeah, I won the MVP, cool, whatever, but like move it on, get Barter up here, do something, and that's what I love about Kenneth Walker, besides his talent on the field. And it'll break my heart a little bit for him to leave, because I think out of the three of us, and just disagree with me if you wish, I felt like I was the most excited about this draft pick when it came out. I just love the guy. I love his style and the personality behind it as well. And I think Bucky's pretty connected.
So the thing about with K9 too is that he definitely, everybody knows him now. If there's anybody in the league that didn't know K9, like they just saw his Super Bowl MVP performance. And so there's going to be owners out there that are talking to their GMs and going, hey, we need a running back this offseason. Super Bowl MVP might be available. And I think that that's going to maybe open up the pocketbooks of some of these other teams more so than maybe what John Schneider ultimately would value K9. And yeah, that bums me out a little bit, Clint.
It bums me out a lot, guys, because there's a lot, talk about speculation. There's stuff out there like, oh, they'll just go find somebody in the second or third round. Like, okay, maybe. Like Brandon, you said there's a lot of teams out there that need a running back. We're one of them.
Right.
Like we have George Halani, and then what,
Zach Charbonnet coming back, Kenny
well,
McIntosh hopefully coming back from
back.
injury, right?
McIntosh back from another injury. Zach maybe halfway through the year, and then it's like what, Arcadia White style guys, right? Style guys. Cool, maybe.
Bayless Jones, he was signed back off the practice squad.
Awesome. That's great. As opposed to the dude, if we want to run outside zone, which when we rotate over to the discussion about Brian Fleury, we'll talk about that. But if we want to be an outside zone team, we already have the perfect outside zone back, the perfect dude. Unless we're going to go make a trade for Devon Achane. That's cool. But what will that cost us, right? We have him. He's right here. And the last thing I'll say about whether franchise transition, there's some variance there and price and stuff like that. All good. Look, it's not like you're franchising a quarterback at $47 million or you're franchising a top tier corner at $30 million. You guys discussed paying the piper for talent at kicker and punter and the dividends that has paid for our Seahawks. Well, running backs are still depressed in the sense that you can get a top flight running back for, if you do franchise them, $14 million, or if you give them 3 to 4 years, about $12 million a year. It's still valuable compared to other parts of the league that are, or other positions that are just getting paid astronomical money. Wide receivers, Adam, you love wide receiver money. It's out of control. Alec Pierce is about to get franchise tagged. They were saying in Indianapolis, he'll be clearing well over like 20 some odd million a year, like 27 million a year, I think, for Alec Pierce. Where would you rather put your money, Adam?
Well, you guys all know my thought process on this and just how I think wide receivers are about to become the next running backs of the NFL in terms of their perceived value in. Look, can you go out and get a guy in the draft? Yes. Is he going to be 100% of a Kenneth Walker III? Likely not, but I think you can go get another Charbonnet in the second, third round relatively regularly. I do think that that's possible. And then you also got to think like, okay, in a vacuum, do I want them to pay money and bring Kenneth Walker back because he's one of my favorite players? Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Let's do that. Super Bowl MVP. But then when you start factoring in other things in terms of like Spoon and JSN coming up and all the other free agents, and what does that mean for Shaheed if you spend this kind of money? Because that's a guy in a inflated wide receiver market that could get some offers that maybe make you pucker a little bit. So there's a lot of different moving parts to this that isn't just, do you want K9 here? Because like if GM was that easy and you could just pay all the guys that you want to be there, like that would be an awesome job to have because you could just make everybody's day.
That would be fun. I want to do that. I just want to be the unlimited salary cap GM, and especially of a Super Bowl team, and then we'll be fine. I do want to say that coming up, we are going to look at salary cap. We'll look at some of the potential players that, you know, if it wasn't K9, are there other guys on the team that might be franchise taggable? Is there a transition tag option? I think coming up in a show or two, that's going to be one of our focuses.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Okay, so we can leave that there for today. There's lots more to talk about. We did have some more changes that we know that are actually factual that we can talk about on the coaching front. So Brandon, you put these together. Where do you want to take it?
Yeah, just a couple of new coaches because we do have some departures, but Mike McDonald going out there. These guys, we probably don't have as much to talk about like we do with Brian Fleury. So the Seahawks have added the Director of Football Strategy, which is a real title that the Baltimore Ravens offered Daniel Stern. He was also their assistant quarterbacks coach. And so, yes, Daniel Stern leaving Baltimore to come to Seattle. We have a quarterback coach vacancy now that Andrew Janoko went with Clint Kubiak down to Las Vegas. And so could Daniel Stern be that guy, or is he going to be a football strategy type mind? And that's one of the guys. And then Zachary Orr also from the Ravens staff. He's going to be he was a defensive coordinator. He's going to be inside linebackers coach, I believe, is what I've seen for him on the Seahawks. So Zachary Orr coming to the staff to help coach the defense, which is kind of weird with the Super Bowl defense, Adam, that we have all these coaches and we get a couple offensive coaches poached and like 0 defensive coaches poached. How did that happen?
The league is dumb. The league is dumb. And this is a great example of just how dumb they are and an inefficiency that the Seahawks are exploiting here in real time. Zachary Orr is a heck of a football coach. He's really good. I've listened to a lot of people talk about what this man is as a coach, different analysts around the league that are really connected, not personally, but through videos and stuff, right? And nothing but high praise of Orr. And if you could bring a guy of his talent into your room and put him on your staff, like that's strength stacking on strength, and it only makes you better. And then it also insulates you from, if the league ever does figure out that, like, hey, there's also good coaches on the defensive side of the ball, and a lot of them live in Seattle. When Aiden Dirty goes, like, maybe Zach Orr's your next man up at that point. I think it's a fantastic hire. I'm really fired up for Orr.
Me as well on that one. I love the experience. It's nice. We're going to talk about experience when we rotate over to Brian Fleury, and specifically being a DC, getting that as kind of maybe a man in waiting is pretty cool. One thing that's also not on screen, guys, that I think is pretty important is also that, Dennison went out with Kubiak as well. So he's gone. And obviously he gets elevated and becomes the run game coordinator at the time he did. And the run game took off. And we'll talk about Flurry in a second because of his experience there too. But Adam, I'll toss it back to you. Of all the names, the most important one for me that I really wanted to make sure stayed put was John Benton. And he, as of yesterday, it's confirmed he's going nowhere. He is staying with the Seahawks. So if you had to kind of force rank these, how high on the poll is Benton staying put to you?
Number one. It's actually something I wanted to weave into the conversation as we continued with
Nice.
hiring of Flurry and all that. Having Benton retained is probably the easiest factor for me to look at and go, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay offensively, because this offensive line, how far it came this year in comparison to the last 3. I mean, I don't have to describe it to you 12s. You guys know, we all saw it with our own eyes. And having that foundation of a strong offensive line in terms of their connectedness and all of that, that only makes it so that an offensive coordinator like Flurry, who comes in, has a fantastic foundation to start from. And it really is the straw that stirs the entire drink. And the good news is that Flurry and Benton will have Daniel Stern here, who you have up on screen in this picture, who might also be deep throat. Like, I can't really tell in this photo, which looks like it was shot in a dungeon. Like, is he part of, like, is he in Gitmo right now doing this interview? I don't know. I can hardly tell. Is he anonymous?
I guess he was delivering a TED Talk, except in unlike a TED Talk, they had no lighting apparently on him. And but whatever the production value was in this video, folks may have seen it floating around Seahawks social media. But so he's saying like a bunch of football stuff about coaching and how important it is to build up your guys, and they put this like really good music behind it, and so it sounds like really like one of the I don't know, like you would take it out of Rudy or Remember the Titans, and he just sounds like one of those coaches, like, oh, building up our guys. I don't know. If you took the music away, it probably just sounds like a normal coach.
Coach speak with a nice score in the background, it sounds like, right? So which is good. So, well, good, Adam. Thanks. It's good to hear that you had Benton on the brain. We'll talk about that as we get to Flurry. So, boys, we got all those categories. What do we think we start off with? One of the things that we absolutely know. Sound good to you, Brandon?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Okay. So we're going to go through these 9 categories. Remember, 3 of the things we know, 3 things we think we know, and then 3 things we just don't know about our new OC, Brian Fleury. So let's start with this one. and how much it might matter to you, I guess. Brandon, we'll start with you. So one thing we absolutely know is that he's now spent 6 years in the 49ers organization. He's kind of canvassed a lot of different roles, starting from a lower role all the way up to tight ends coach and then run game coordinator. And he spent a lot of years rubbing elbows with Kyle Shanahan. So we absolutely know this, Brandon. How much does it matter to you? What parts of it do you want to kind of extract out and talk about?
Yeah, well, he started out with Shanahan in 2019 as a defensive quality control coach, and then he moved over to become an offensive quality control coach. And so it's kind of an interesting, and looking back, we talked a little bit about this guy a year ago as we were exploring our different offensive coordinator hires, and so we did kind of go through some of his resume of how he was a quarterback in college, and then went on to be a graduate assistant at Maryland, where he first started out as a walk-on. And then he started out, went through some of the coaching ranks, went back to Tosin, where he was a quarterback for a couple of years, and then moved on to the NFL. So he got his start in the NFL in 2013 and coached for, bounced around a little bit until he landed with the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. And then he's come up through the ranks on both sides of the ball. That's kind of an interesting component of his background.
Yeah, for sure. Adam, okay, many years with Shanahan. What's that doing for you?
Well, there's a few things that I take away from that. So as I look at this picture here, and I know that he spent a few years with Crybaby Kyle, one of the things that I know is that when Kyle was being a crybaby, is that it was this man, Mr. Flurry, who smacked him across the face and said, "Pull it together, man." Like he looks like a tough SOB. Like that's one of the things that I take away from it. He also looks like he could handle a broadsword. Like that's something I know. He looks like you could send him on a crusade back in the day in a night suit. Look, I really do like the diverse background that he brings in. Really, the Kubiak Shanahan system. I mean, they're one and the same. They're trying to unravel those two things is almost impossible, right? And knowing that Mike wanted to make a Seahawks system offensively, that's something that he talked about. Having this guy Flurry be in the same vein as Kubiak and built his offensive chops in the tight end room and the running back room and run game coordinator, that gives me a lot of faith that Mike knows what he's looking for, and this is going to be the type of hire that offers us a level of continuity with the style of play that we were really hoping for.
This also means, Clinton, that he wasn't fired in all of those years since 2019. So he has stayed with an NFL team for many years, which
that's because Kyle was scared of him because he would slap him every time he cried. Yeah.
Oh, no, not Bri. Bri will survive, it seems.
And for those just listening along, just picture Triple H from WWE, and you're pretty close. Or for those who might be similarly nerdy, but in a different vein, the main character from God of War video game.
Very nice. Love all those visuals. The thing that I've heard, again, I got to listen to people that I think I trust and then start to form some opinions. One of the things that I did hear on repeat is that he's extremely detail oriented, like extraordinarily detail oriented. I like that. I think it jives well with certain personalities in the room.
Do we know that though, Clinton? Or do you think that we know that?
Well, I mean, I got to take some of that. I think I know that. Because the people that were sharing it were reputable folks. Now, another thing I think we know, guys, is this takes us to category number 2 as we change the graphic, is that, hey, this is the 3rd year for McDonald as head coach. By the way, he's won a Super Bowl in one of those. This is his 3rd year, and it will be his 3rd offensive coordinator. So what I put on screen, Adam, is, hey, the thing we know is that Mike knows what he wants. Where would you take that? Take it from there, dude.
I think one of the biggest takeaways is that once he saw what he didn't want, he got rid of that in a hurry and then made a very clear choice last time in hiring Kubiak in style and all of that. And because of that conviction, because of that, I guess maybe conviction is the right word for it, to just get rid of Grubb, get with this guy and move forward, win a Lombardi. Like, that makes me feel pretty good about it in trusting Mike as he makes this next choice. Now, is Flurry going to come in and win a Super Bowl in 1 year like Kubiak?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, sure, maybe. It very well could go that way. He could be very, very good. I'm comfortable with the hire. I'll put it to you like that because of Mike in his vision, which is very clear to the style of football we're going to play.
The other interesting part about this, we know that Mike knows what he wants because this is his third OC hire. We also know that he didn't want somebody who was currently on the team, and that was one of the things that was speculated, especially with the number of other internal hires that he had the opportunity to select, right? It was Jake Peets, Justin Outen, Janoko was one of the interviews that he ended up going to the Raiders, which it sounds like he and Kubiak are pretty well tied, but maybe he thought, hey, if they're going to keep me on and elevate me to an actual play caller, then I would take that job, and he was not selected for it. So, and then the tight end coach, Mac Brown. So those were the internal guys, and Mike didn't want any of those ones.
Yeah, it seems that Brian came in, knocked some socks off, and again, the reports that he's extraordinarily detail oriented, I think, jives really well. We know the system he comes from, so there's evidence there, and obviously he can get in a room and say, yes, this is the style of football I want to run as an offense, and he could say that to Mike's face, and then you kind of pair that with the idea that there's lots of talk about him being this really, really in the details and the weeds of the.
Are you saying that our current offensive guys aren't detail oriented enough, Clinton?
Maybe Mike is saying that for us, right? Or this guy is just a bit more. But either way, that's something we do know. So that's category number 2. Oh, Adam, you got one more piece.
Yeah, no, I thought about this a little bit earlier today, actually. What if bringing in somebody like Flurry isn't necessarily looking at Outen and Peets and being like, I don't want you? Maybe it's more of, hey, you're damn good at your job. Both those guys, right? And if I elevate you to OC, that's now just creating another hole. And we maybe don't get better that way. If I keep both of you guys at the jobs that you're awesome at, and I bring in another cool dude, now it's additive when it's all said and done, and helps to keep some cohesion as well among the offensive staff and who the players work with and all of that, having those two dudes stay in their roles. It may not necessarily be a statement about, I don't want you to be my OC. It's more like, hey, you're awesome at your job. I'm gonna bring another guy to do that part because I can't lose you doing this part.
Clinton, we need to hire Adam to be the guy that talks to people that don't get the promotion that they really wanted.
That's exactly right.
Was that a good spiel?
That's pretty good. I've been on both sides of that in my professional career, and I needed you in that room, Adam, to be like, why didn't I get that time? But it could be tough for sure. And you just don't know what the personalities are or what they were striving for. We don't know. We're not inside there. Meaning the
we do.
Well, we right. We certainly know, right? But hey, I like the train of thought that Adam is giving us, Brandon. Hopefully it's kumbaya, that everybody's like, okay, we agree with the philosophy, if that is what Mike is thinking, and we're in. Because if you're gonna be in, you gotta be all in. This is NFL coaching. The amount of hours, we can only imagine how much time they actually pour in every single week, 52 weeks a year, to be as on it as they actually are, Brandon.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, good. So that is number 2. Look, we got more to go through. We got only one more that we know. And I like this one a lot because it's based in facts. Adam, we could kick it to you first, but Brian Fleury was the run game coordinator in the 2025 season. We know that for a fact, as well as the tight ends coach. The thing I wanted to kind of highlight is while their yards per carry went down pretty significantly, he had no problems really basically just throttling CMC with 413 touches. That was 311 carries, 102 receptions. Just for comparison, before I turn it over, K9 had 221 and 31, so 252 total. Sharps had 184 and 20 for 204 total. So kind of balanced on the Seattle side. Brian Robinson only had 100 total touches, 92 carries, 8 receptions. So he was the run game coordinator. He had no problem giving a pretty old running back a lot of touches. What does that say to you?
Well, a couple things. You said this is under the things we know. So let's stick to the things we know. One is he was a run game coordinator. Absolutely, yes. We also know that the run game coordinator does not call the plays, and he does not call the personnel. Like that's not what he does. We also know that I've watched Kyle Shanahan ride CMC or whatever back that he's had at the time and use him as a bell cow back and run them into the dirt. That's what Kyle Shanahan does. Like that's the history that we've seen. Like a great example this year was their draft pick. God, what was the heck is his name? The young back, James. Yes.
Right.
Just putting the doghouse and left to right.
Yeah.
Right. And then like Mason the year or two before that, and
Who's
on
good,
and on and on.
by the way,
who's
good.
Damn good.
Yeah.
So the idea that we know that Flurry is going to be somebody who selects a bell cow type back and wants to run his offense in that way, we don't know that at all. That feels more like a Kyle Shanahan thing than necessarily a Flurry thing. It could be. I just don't know that it is.
Yeah. I think that the other thing that Clinton, I was hoping that you would bring, I don't know how many 13 personnel packages, how the percentage that they ran that, but Adam just told me that doesn't matter because he doesn't call plays. I think it maybe would matter a little bit as a coordinator to help, at least understand how often they were in those types of packages.
Well, Brandon, only the Rams ran 13 personnel this year because they invented it.
Because they invented it.
They invented it in 2025. So only McVay ran that. We never did, not in the Super Bowl, for a great success when we won the Lombardi. And the Niners never, ever run 13 personnel because only the Rams did, Brandon.
Yeah, and it was after God literally came down from the heavens and plucked up Sean McVay himself, the anointed one, and bestowed him with the knowledge of the all-powerful 13 personnel that nobody could have ever thought of on their own. Like the genius and just divineness of Sean McVay is where it's at, no doubt. And I just want to thank him for his contribution to football. We wouldn't have gotten to 13 without him.
So Brandon, did we tap dance enough? Were you able to figure out?
Well, I think to summarize this slide, this is something that we know, but we're just not sure how much it matters.
For sure. But the 13 personnel, we can look that up. Let's do a little more digging around the tight end usage. But we do have another question about the tight end room coming up. So that'll be fun. All right. So those are three things we know. Now we're going to get a bit more to speculation land and start to get into things that we think we know. So number one here, I categorize this, might be a bit cloudy, is we are back into risk on mode, but not like Grubb. And Brandon, I'll toss back to you. What I meant to say with this is simply year one, we have a guy who never called plays in the NFL. Year two, we have Kubiak. We win the whole darn thing. And Kubiak was pretty darn proven. And then it was proven that he was actually darn good at his job. Year three, we are back to a guy who has never called plays live fire in the NFL. And I know we know that, but what do we think we know about that?
This is my biggest apprehension with this hire as a whole, and it leads more to the process of it. And part of the issue I had with the process last time, too, was that Clint Kubiak was the one guy that we interviewed that actually called NFL plays, and that was it. And now we've interviewed, even if you look at this interview cycle, guys who have actually called NFL plays, the list is one again. It was Justin Outen. And he was, like, for a very short time after his head coach got canned, he was the play caller in Denver. And so it was partial of a season for Outen. And people say, oh, well, Jake Pete called plays. Well, yeah, in college at LSU for 1 year. So I guess he was a play caller. The dude for the Cardinals that they brought in, he called the plays at the East-West Shrine game this year. Like, okay, not a lot of experience calling plays. And that's, I think I know that having play calling experience is important, but I question whether or not Do we? Is it important? Because now we've hired a guy who has never called plays and is our offensive coordinator, and Adam, for a Super Bowl team, a team that won the Super Bowl, we couldn't bring in one dude who called NFL plays like from outside of the organization. That's my one rub in this whole leading up to this hire.
You know what my favorite types of problems are, Brandon? They're rich people problems. And we have rich people football problems right now. You just said it. We won the Super Bowl. We just won the freaking chip. You know what that does? Is that it puts you at the very end of the coaching cycling hire, right? That cycle. And you're just not going to have a lot of dudes out there that necessarily have a ton of experience or even some experience calling plays in the NFL. I mean, what is Greg Roman still out there? Like maybe you could have gone and got him.
Mike Kafka was out there.
That's the non-starter for me. I don't understand the hype around him, but
I just mean for an interview. So you could say you interviewed a dude who called plays.
They interviewed him the last cycle, right? So maybe they already had an idea of yeah, exactly. Yeah, for head coach. So maybe they already.
But I don't think that was Mike's interview. I think that was John Schneider's interview.
Sure, but like they have an institutional knowledge of the guy, right? So basically you're in the same boat that you were in when you hired Mike McDonald last year or 2 years ago, when the Ravens go on their run and lose in the championship game. And so you wait to make that head coaching hire with McDonald. Now you get to find your OC, and there's not a lot of people to choose from. So you're going to have to take a little bit of a risk, and you're going to have to project with some of these guys because you don't get the cream of the crop right out of the gate because you're a loser franchise that's not in the playoffs. So this is one of those things that you have to go through if you're going to be on top. Now, with that said, Clinton, on the screen here, you have, but not like Grubb. In
question mark.
No. You need to erase the question mark.
Okay.
You need to put the period, because I can put not like Grubb in the things we know category. And the reason I know that is that Benton has extensive experience in the league. Ryan Grubb didn't even have a cup of coffee in the league beforehand. And that was the number one reason why I threw a fit when I hired Grubb, because that sort of thing never works, even though he had called plays. Just happened to be in a very lesser environment in college. So I don't worry too much about this play calling aspect of it, because think about Canales going to Tampa. He didn't have any play calling duties before then. Crushes it, gets a head coach job, and now has the Panthers in a spot where they're us from 2 years ago. Like they're on that sort of trajectory. Then you got the guy Cohen that came in behind him, same deal, and they still rocked it. He's a head coach, brings the Jaguars up a notch. Like, do they have to have play calling experience? No. Would it be nice? Sure. But of the no risk it, no biscuit type philosophy here, and you're going to have to take a risk being at the end of the totem pole here. I like this one in comparison to what they did with Grubb. Shows they learned something.
So the element I would add here is that it just speaks to me that it was way more important for Mike and John to get somebody from the tree they really believe in and trust, which is the Shanahan-Tree, which is, tied to the Kubiak family as well, versus saying, oh, let's make sure we get Cliff Kingsbury in the room, like that type of dude. That's like who runs the horizontal raid and has been, it pretty much is nothing I want in an NFL offense whatsoever. So Adam, love how you framed it. Definitely, I think the listeners and viewers will also like that. So if they have that concern, Brandon, that the way we're framing it's like, okay, Adam walked through some really nice examples of dudes who have had a lot of great success in the NFL, who got their shot and then shined and then moved on to head coaching a little bit later on. So I think that's a good place to leave that one.
That's the optimistic place to leave it.
Yeah, absolutely. And why not? Let's be optimistic with this one because of the tree, because of Mike understanding what he wants, and because we're the current Super Bowl champions, if we haven't mentioned that yet in this show. All right, so here's another thing that we think we know, a pretty big one. Adam, you sent this one over, so I'll pass it to you to start this first time, but it reads on screen, we think we know that we will still be a wide zone run team. And we think we know that, but why do you think that we could kind of anchor on that.
I almost put this in the things we know category, just because if you're coming out of the Shanahan system, Mike's talking about wanting continuity with this Seahawks system, and you're retaining guys like Outen and Pete's who just ran that sort of system.
Well, and Benton, right? The big
Benton,
one.
yeah, sorry, it should have put that in there. And you bringing a guy in from a place that's what they do. They run outside zone. It's the Shanahan-Kubiak system. Like, I'm pretty damn sure we're going to be rooted in this wide zone concept. That doesn't mean that's the only place we live, just like Kubiak. Kubiak had lots of other types of runs as well. And I think the league is kind of moving that way to be even more multiple in the run game. But I do think this is where we're going to live, Brandon. Am I crazy thinking that? Or am I just being optimistic? Like, I don't know.
Well, I agree with you that this could almost be in the things that we know. And maybe if once the franchise tag availability opened and say they use the franchise tag on K9 on day one, and then I would say then we know that for sure, because okay, Flurry coming in, K9 coming back, then yes, we're going to still be a wide zone team.
Like that. Okay. So I think that one we could be a little shorter on, because I think you're right. It's probably closer to things we know. So good call there. This one is kind of a kissing cousin of that topic, but a little different. So just outside the run game, also, we think we know that we'll also retain and be quite similar to the 2025 Seahawks, in the sense that fullback usage being, having a fullback and using them a good amount, 12 and 13 personnel being prevalent, and then a lot of under center play action. I think one of the caveats, or the thing I put at the very bottom, was, will we continue to stretch the field though, with the Shaheed types, Tariq Horton, and the way in which we put pressure on those safeties, take a couple of deep shots, and we're doing so we could really free up the middle of the field, let JSN and Barner cook. So Brandon, I'll go to you first this time. So flipping it to the pass game, how similar do you think we think we'll be pretty similar pass wise? What do you think?
Yeah, well, under center play action, obviously Sam Darnold's coming back. He's going to be our quarterback, so he's going to play under center. He's a play action quarterback. That's why they brought him in, or one of the reasons. And the idea of that's the type of quarterback that can also stretch the field. He's got a big arm. Like, you're not going to take away or move away from the strengths of your current quarterback. So I think the reason why we think we know this is because it makes a lot of sense. Like, this is what you have. The guy that you bring in, you would want to make sure, like, Mike McDonald's going to want a guy that still focuses on the strengths of the team, Adam.
I would think so. And then another thing that points to this in terms of the personnel and all that, you saw Niners do that stuff. I think that's where Mike likes to live offensively, because he knows, for him as a defensive guy, those sort of things give you some fits and try to force you into different things, defensively speaking. So I think he likes playing that way offensively. And then the third thing, and I think this is the biggest thing that points to, will we still be able to stretch the field? The background for Flurry is in the run game, tight ends, that sort of thing. And then also defense, right? Which is something I hope we talk about at some point as well, because I think that's super interesting and I actually really like it. But Pete's is still here as the pass game coordinator, as we talked about just a couple of frames ago. And if he was a pass game coordinator and we stretched the field a good amount, I think he's probably going to do that again when he's got the opportunity. So I think there's going to be consistency there.
Also, the other thing that maybe I'll just throw in here, and I just touched on it a little bit, the thing about Brian Fleury, I like it. I like offensive coordinators that have a quarterback background, just because then they're in that mindset of the plays have gone through them. They've been in that position as a quarterback, so that they know. I feel like there's a better connection of offensive coordinator to quarterback when the guy coordinating the offense has also played quarterback and understood from the playing perspective of what types of things are going through a quarterback's mind. And so with regard to this hire, I really do like that he has that part of his background.
I do too. And we could take that and we could make a little fun of the 49ers and their quarterback. We all like Purdy. We think Purdy's a good quarterback. Now, when I was asking about will we stretch the field, it was a bit because the Niners really didn't, but I don't think they didn't because they didn't
With who?
want. That's the thing. I don't think they didn't because they didn't want to. I think they've got look at Sam's arm versus Purdy's arm. Purdy's a good quarterback. Sam's arm is way, way different league of arm talent, arm power, drive the ball downfield with a lot more efficacy than
come on, Clinton,
Brock
though.
Purdy.
Have you seen Brock Purdy's stats in the Super Bowl? I mean, gosh.
He has lots of little crowns.
Yes, I did see those. And the other pieces too, the Niners don't have, especially with the injuries, they had no speed. They lost all their speed. Ayuk was out driving, like any of their speed that could actually stretch the field, it wasn't there. We like Juwan Jennings, but he's not beating a decent corner deep or a safety deep. It's not his game, right? So maybe that's a little bit when we do get some interviews with Flurry going, I'd love to have him talk about the new weaponry he's just stepped into, because it's a different room than what he just left, which was still an offense to put up a lot of points, right? Because we know Shanahan does some dumb things, but he is a good offensive mind. Okay, good topic there. That rounds out the things that we think we know. Now we're going to get into pure speculation land of things that we just don't know, which I have heard other folks talking about as if it was written in tablets coming down from a mountain, boys. So the first one is actually a topic that I haven't heard too many people talk about. I think it's an interesting one. Brandon, I think it's back to you. Things we don't know. We have no idea how this is going to impact our free agents. And if we're looking offensively, I do want to talk specifically about how K9 might view this. And again, the bell cow thing maybe comes into play a little bit. And then Rashid Shaheed is also a free agent. How might he view this as well? Any interpretations? I don't want to speculate too much, but is it an important question to start to poke at?
Yeah, these are the pure speculation ones. The thing about the impact on the free agents is I don't know if, I mean, there are guys that you could have brought in where it would have mattered. Maybe it would have mattered more for some of our free agents if it were an internal hire to where they are more comfortable with a particular dude, and then knowing that now he's offensive coordinator and now you're bringing someone in from the outside. Like that maybe has an impact on the mindset, but I think that being valued appropriately in your free agent contract is probably the more significant factor for either of these players.
Yeah, I was going to say, Brandon, you know who players are the most comfortable with of anybody in the league? It's Benjamin Franklin. And they love their Benjamin. So I would say that in terms of impact on our free agents, I mean, I don't know this, but it's probably in single digits. Like, I don't think that this is a massive deal at all. I think what impacts our free agents and our ability to retain them and all that is the way the rest of the league values our free agents and the type of contracts that they're offered out in the open market. That's going to be a 20,000% larger impact on this than whoever the OC is. Like, these guys, the way the business is, you play for so many different coaches and people and all that stuff. Like, if you happen to get paired up with a buddy, somebody you know, like Darnold and Kubiak last year, great. But I guarantee you, if Kubiak was not the OC last year and it was some other guy who ran a similar-ish system, and Darnold and that guy had no relationship, that contract gets Sam Darnold to Seattle.
Well, Clinton, and maybe this is what you're thinking about, because I think with K9, like, there's no way that K9's going to go to Vegas. Like, they have Ashton Genty, but Rashid Shaheed, Las Vegas, they need receivers. They have an OC that he's familiar with. They're a head coach now too. Could that impact Shaheed? Maybe.
Yeah, and it very well might. And I guess what I'm hoping for, and this is the kind of category we're in right now, is a little bit of hopes and dreams, is that if Flurry could come in and say, hey, I'd like to talk to K9, just want to just speak to the man and be like, hey, my vision for you, if you decide to stay, my vision for you is this, whatever that is, whatever that vision might be. He might be able to share with him, okay, look, we see the touches for CMC. I'm not suggesting we do that with K9 or that's the right thing to do. But he might be like, look, you caught 31 balls last year. I think you're a 50-plus receiver in my offense. And that might, I don't know, we're in speculation land, that might tickle K9 a certain way, right? That's a possibility. And I do want K9 to stay. And I do think K9 could catch 45, maybe even 50 balls and really up his, not his contribution. He's a huge contributor. Just how much he means to the offense. I want the dude to stay. So I'm in some hopes and dreams land there. I think it's all good. Are you guys good if we move on to two other things we don't know?
Just one question.
Yeah.
One question. Do you think 20 more receptions a year is going to tickle K9 more than $2 million more a year?
I think he's a bit of a, I don't know. I don't think so. If I have to, I'll answer
especially
it
for running backs, right? Where like
I don't
get that
think
one
so.
deal basically, right?
I don't think so, but I do think there's the possibility that he also really likes where he is and is a bit of a creature of habit and is like, I would like to stay in Seattle if I could,
Yeah.
So, and maybe it all goes in a blender and it washes that he does stay with us. Hopefully he does. So I'm just more hopeful that that's the outcome because I don't want to lose K9. I think it's way more difficult to replace him than people are making it out to be. So
I think he can get 80% of K9.
Yeah, but that's not a lot.
80% of the time in the draft. Every time.
Maybe there was a lot of dudes who missed this year that were, I know it's 1 year, but who were not very good coming out of the draft this year, who were supposed to be kind of sure shots and they were not. So including the dude who went in the top, 6 picks or so with Ashton Genty. He wasn't very good. We'll see what happens in
probably
year 2.
His fault.
Well, he just wasn't very good. We had the best Boise State runner, and we saw him winning the Super Bowl, by the way. Okay, so next thing that we just don't know is what's going to happen to the rest.
Don't know how to spell offense. That's the one thing we don't know. Offensive. Don't know how to spell that.
Offensive. What's going to happen with the rest of our offensive staff? Adam, we'll toss it to you first. We don't know. I guess again, the hopes and dreams. What would you hope is the outcome? He comes in, and what happens with the offensive staff? Because we talked about earlier, there could be jealousy, there could be the lack of chemistry. There's things that certainly could go to the negative. What would be a really positive outcome that we could hope for?
Oh, it's already happened. And when I look at the Sniv class or staff here, if I'm reading it on the screen here, right?
That's a Fesniv. Thank you.
Yeah, no, Sniv. And when I look at that and I think about the staff, the most important thing has already happened, and we touched on it earlier. Benton's here, and he's a Seahawk. Goddammit, like that's what he said, and I'm excited about that, and I really think that is going to be a big deal moving forward. Now, in terms of most of the positions around the league are more or less filled, so there's not going to be a ton of promotions out there for whoever, let's say, and I'm not saying this is at all the case. I don't know the man. I don't know anything, but let's say Pete's is for whatever reason spun up that he didn't get the OC job.
Right.
Like how many promotions are available for him out there? Because at this point, or at any point, you can't just leave for another position. It has to be like a legitimate promotion if you are under contract. And that's the last point that I'll leave it with. What happens to the rest of the offensive staff? Whatever the hell John Schneider says, because these men are under contract and they're not players. They don't get to look at contracts and talk about them as if they're, mere suggestions. Like these are real contracts that they hold people to.
Yeah, but you could still come into work and not be super happy about it. I imagine that, again, we don't know how professional any of these dudes are, but you have to imagine that if they're on a high-performing staff to where you win the Super Bowl, they've got to be pretty professional. So I would hope that that it doesn't impact in terms of jealousy as much. The thing that I would be the most concerned about is just how well they gel together. And you hear, I poked a little bit fun of the video of the QB Collective video, but that was really the main point of it, was talking about how everybody needs to be communicating on the same page. And so I think that at least if you have a lot of guys who think that same way of, hey, we've all got to communicate just to be on the same page with what everybody's talking about, then I think that it lessens the concern that these guys are going to get in the room together and they're just not going to be able to work through things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think there's one important thing to add here in terms of context is that when Flurry was in San Francisco, who else was there? Kubiak was there. Kubiak's brother's been there. Sam Darnold was there. Do you think they all asked these boys about what Flurry brings to the table? I'm gonna guess they did, and so obviously his hire, I think, shows that they're very comfortable with how this could flow in his style, who he is as a dude. Because I think one of the things we learned this year was just how important the connectiveness, the brotherhood, the communication, being on the same page, 12 is one, right? Really is. And I'd be kind of stunned if they brought this dude in and without having a pretty damn good idea of what he's about and how he'd mesh.
I love that. I think that's a really good point. I saw something, it was out on X. I wish I could quote who it was because I just forgot it. I forgot to write it down. But they were asking, it was, you brought it up earlier, Adam, about the fact that Shanahan really buries rookies. Like rookies barely play in the Shanahan offense. And a lot of times they talk about, well, it's really, really complicated for rookies to pick things up. Mike's been a master at, yes, it is complicated, but one of the things he is absolutely like renowned for at this point is taking complex and making it simple to understand and distill, and then build, like get the base right. And then, year one install, year two install. And again, we win a Lombardi in year two. I do wonder how much of that complexity comes over with Flurry, and will that impact, we don't have a lot of draft picks. Obviously, tons of speculation. Will we even go offense? But if we are ditching K9, we're going to have to go offense, right? We're going to have to take a running back. So those things we can't answer them today, but it's just things I kind of want to flag and say, let's watch out for them. Let's discuss them. If it's like week 4 or week 6 into the season and we're not seeing like a rookie crack just yet, and we're struggling to have that cohesion early in Will be Fleury's tenure. Hopefully it goes the exact opposite way, but just some things to put in the category of we don't know. We don't know. We got one more we don't know, guys, before we wrap for today. I like this one because we get to talk about tight ends. Adam, I'll pass to you first because, Adam, you had brought this one up, and this is the last thing we don't know, at least for this show. It is, will his tight end experience really help our young tight end room? And of course, we got AJ Barner going into year 3, and there'll be Arroyo going into year 2. And Arroyo was a bit injury plagued as well. Then you got old man Salbert, who is just amazing and quickly become one of my favorite Seahawks. But impact to the tight end room, especially the young dudes. What do you think, Adam?
Well, this was a Mensa level line to draw for me. Like Flurry, he coached tight ends in San Francisco, and then we have tight ends. And so like it was really high level stuff out of me. So I'm really glad we put it up here. But look, I heard George Kittle talk about Flurry a bit in what he brought to the table in terms of his defensive background and how he's able to explain to a tight end what the defense is trying to do to corral them. And it's really interesting. If you ever get a chance, like listen to defensive guys break film down, offensive guys, and even just different position groups, offensive line guys compared to quarterbacks, like listen to all the different dudes from their different back, because they talk about ball like very differently and they have a very different perspective on things. And so I think Benton's or Flurry's background in defense really did help Kittle. And as you guys said, go listen to it. It was interesting, other than you have to listen to George Kittle. But with that said, like Barner's already ascended. I think most of us agree on that. But I think there's levels he can go to.
Yeah.
And then we saw flashes from Arroyo this year in, like, say if Cup retires in Horton's taking a minute to get back, or he does get back and Shaheed leaves in free agency or something like that. It could be Arroyo is that next guy that comes in as somebody who stretches the field from the tight end position. I'm not talking about putting him out as the X or anything like that. I know that drives Clinton crazy, but just the idea being he could really maybe take Arroyo's potential as a pass catcher and take it to the next level like he did with, Curious George. So, yeah, I just thought it was an interesting possibility. Maybe Brandon.
Maybe Salbert can be our next Kittle now, because he had the experience with Flurry, and he was actually coached by him directly in San Fran. So I do wonder how much, you mentioned the Sam Darnold connection. I wonder how much intel they had from Salbert, who they obviously really like because they signed him middle of the year to an extension. And knowing that Yeah, just how much intel they had on a guy like Flurry from players who did spend some time down there in San Fran. Yeah, I don't know exactly how much it's going to help because, maybe it turns out in terms of offensive play caller and style, they don't use the tight ends very much in his mind. I have to think, though, that when you have really good players like A.J. Barner, that you're going to want to get the ball to those really, really good players.
Love that. And, one dude we didn't mention in this mix too is I think it's Jake, right? Jake Tonjes, the backup to Kittle, who had a really, really good year, kind of made himself a household name. Kittle, of course, because it just is almost every single year. He's on and off the IR list all year long. And Tonjes emerges. One of the criticisms that I heard, I think it was like Grant Cohn and like people that would call into his show at the Niners, is that they weren't using Tonjes enough when Kittle was on the field, and they weren't using Brian Robinson enough when CMC this whole year was healthy. But Adam, maybe to your point, maybe that's just the Kyle Shanahan thing, but it is something to watch out for. It is, because the call from Niners fans was, when Kittle's healthy, we basically forget about Tonjes. And why? Like, why not use both was kind of what was coming from their audience, right? Like, why not do more things where it's truly 12 personnel and you're spreading the ball around a bit more. However, to the positive, I think Kittle's the best tight end in football, and Tom just stepped right in, and it was like they didn't really miss a beat offensively, and that's saying something. So I think some kudos is likely due, Adam, to the man on screen here.
Yeah, it's hilarious, man. You definitely heard some of the same conversation from the faithful regarding future Hall of Famer Jake Tonjes. Like, they acted like they were squandering the third best talent in the league the entire time. Look, Tonjes is fine. Like, he's fine, but they all acted like he was George Kittle and Mark Bavaro and freaking Gonzalez all wrapped into one. Like, how are we squandering this guy? I have no idea. Like, what are we doing?
Well, to be fair to Niner fan, have you seen their wide receiver room?
That's true.
Exactly.
That's very true.
No, but when Pearsall comes back, they're going to be so much better. He's so fast and good and like white. Like, it's going to be great.
One of my favorite things of this entire episode was how much we just got to rag on the 49ers, which is really, really, really fun.
Jerk faces from San Fran.
Well, that was it, boys. We went through all 9. So we had the things we know, the things that we think we know, which some of them we probably do know. And of course, the things that we just don't know yet, and we might not ever know, might not get answered. But we do have a new OC. We have a new OC. He looks pretty badass. He seems to gel. We know Mike knows what he wants in a dude. And Brandon, as you said, there were internal guys he could have taken, but lo and behold, he goes into the Shanahan-Tree, plucks Brian Fleury out, and he's our new OC. So the rest of it, we'll find out, guys. We'll find out as the 2026 season really starts to get underway. But for now, I think we canvass this pretty well.
And here's the thing. If it turns out that a year from now, we're crying about having to go on another OC search because we just won another Super Bowl, and now some other team poached our offensive coordinator for their head coach, that's going to be a good problem to have.
God, rich people problems are great, right? Like, so, I mean, honestly, look, it could absolutely go that way. This could also be a disaster. Like,
no.
We're talking about what we know, what we don't know. If anybody looks you in the eye on any content anywhere and guarantees you this is going to be something, like, come on, man. Like, this is a risky hire in terms of just unknowns, but it's a calculated risk, and I like the risk. We'll see where it goes. I'm rooting for it. I think this could be great. I do not get the vibes that I got when we hired Grubb at all. This is much closer to when we hired Kubiak, which, let us not forget how many people really looked at that hire and was like, yeah, but what has he really done? And is he really good in all of that? There was a lot of,
well, there was risk there too. Yeah.
Well, I loved it at the time. Right. But look, we didn't fully know there. We don't fully know now.
It even took Kubiak, people to come around to Kubiak until like week 11, 12, 13 of this season.
Yeah,
there was
some of us
still
are slow learners. Like, yeah.
there was still that, right? But I love how it's framed, and I want Brandon's outcome. Brandon, I like that outcome. So
Yeah.
you heard it here first in the Seahawkers podcast.
It is the most likely outcome. Book it. It's going to happen. And we'll be right back here next year. Just look forward to it. Why not?
Dynasty on. Let's go.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.